Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Debbie and I am a mixed media artist, and you're about to find out what that looks like if you've never seen this sort of thing before. I have an absolutely mammoth lot of sketchbooks to show you through for the month of June, including a few I've made from scratch. And honestly, I hope I don't keep you here all week, because I thought January was a busy month. Excuse me, but actually my June, how about I put all the lights on? How's that? Yeah, get organized, woman. June has been an incredibly prolific month. Maybe it's something to do with the fact that just nature is just exploding all around us, and nature is what I work with. So before we get into these, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe and a comment if you have the time. I do try to respond to all of them. And if you've got any specific questions, I also answer those. And if you like what you see here, please consider joining my Patreon, because that is one of my favorite things. I love the community I'm building over there, and I teach art on my Patreon. So basically, some of the things you're going to see today are actually tutorials available on my Patreon. Full tutorials, proper teaching, no sped up bits with music. I tell you exactly what I'm doing with each material at each stage. And my patrons also get a list of the materials that I use, so they can actually sort of learn. Basically, it's a teaching tool for me. So yeah, do consider checking it out. It's a nice place to hang out actually and learn some art or level up the skills you've got. And if you want to swap to mixed media, there are a few things to know with mixed media, because quite often we're using a product in a way that it wasn't intended by the manufacturer. So, you know, we can't sort of complain if we try to put down oil paint as a first layer and then watercolor over the top of it and say, oh, well, that didn't work. Well, no, it won't. You know, we do deep dives, so you get to understand the materials. So all of the information about that is in the description box below. And of course, my Patreon is taught in English. So yes, that's helpful. Sometimes it might come up in German with blurbs in German, because I'm in Germany, but when you're all signed up, it'll all be in English. Right, where to start here? As I said, a few of these actually are tutorials, and I'll point those out as I go so that you can see what you might be learning, because some of these things are in these books are just for me. I'm just trying to decide where to start. You know what? I think that's a good starting point. And similarly, because some of these have only got one thing in them, so we'll get those out the way first. Right, this one here, my very high-tech pieces of paper stuck in things. This one is about, this year is about flowers, and I've never, look, I've been painting now for about 40 years and teaching as well. And I've not really pushed the boundaries for myself with flowers. You know, sometimes there'll be flowers in things, but I haven't done any up close flower work for a very long time. So what I wanted to do this year was to have a look in my garden and see what's actually blooming and see what can be taught. And this one here of these dog roses or wild roses, this one feeds into some others that you will see in a bit, which actually are tutorials. So, you know, sort of playing with materials and seeing how, because I had not done mixed media flowers in a while, and actually most of my flowers that I had done back in the day were acrylic, so they don't count. So playing around with mixed media, new mixed media, different surfaces. This one is a Clairefontaine Gold line, which is not a book I turn to a lot, although I have used it twice this month, and that's sort of new. Normally I'm a nostalgia Hahnemühle nostalgia, because they're great and they're accessible here in Germany and they're not terribly expensive. But because my Patreons come from all over the world, I like to mix it up sometimes and just see. So there's a couple of different surfaces here, but on the whole, it is yeah, mainly smooth paper. If I had to if I had to choose, I'm team smooth. I don't like rough watercolor paper. This has got a little bit of texture, but not overly much. So this was about experimenting with leaves and seeing what could be left out of a sketch and what was left behind. And yeah, this is what we came up with. It does change. I'll put this one aside where I can grab it because the actual picture did change. And actually, you may not be seeing that until next month because it's a July thing. We're in July now when I'm filming this, just so I could make sure that I got all of the things in. I wanted to get the filming done and have all of the work I did, not do it still in June, and then produce another 2 pieces that weren't in the video. So this one might come out in July. So you'll see this again, especially if you're following. Do subscribe and hit that bell and you will see it again. So dog roses were a very big thing. I have a blackbird addiction, amongst other things. I love them. I can't stop painting them. And this one is a favourite 5 with a difference, which by the time this video goes out, you will have seen that if you're a regular on here on YouTube. And of course, my Patreons they see it before everybody else, so they've already seen this. But my favourite 5 materials for painting a blackbird, sort of like a blackbird kit, that if you're going out and if you like blackbirds, I mean, you may hate blackbirds, in which nobody's judging, but if you like blackbirds as much as I do, then it's really handy to have a little kit of materials that you can put in your bag to go off and paint blackbirds with. And that's what this is all about. So I've slotted this into my favourite 5 series, which has been extraordinarily popular. And it's good to get the kit down to 5 materials. You don't want to have, my favourite 761,000 materials required to paint a blackbird. It's got to be simpler than that. So 5 plus an honourable mention is what we've got it down to. And this is my version of a blackbird. There is some watercolour in there and lots of other things. Have a look and see, and you'll see what I mean. So that's another one that I did in June after promising faithfully not to do too many more blackbirds because I was just really worried that everybody would be totally sick of them. Right, this is in no particular order, i.e. all over the bloody place. So this is the 30th of June. I like playing around with little cottages, backgrounds of trees, weird skies sometimes. Some of them are weird, some of them aren't weird at all. This one is it's got a few different interesting colours in it, but what I'm loving most of all at the moment, and it's becoming a real addiction, is a foreground. Like I've always put foregrounds in my work. You'll see some of that when we go along, because I find that it anchors the person into the scene. And it's kind of like if you're walking past on a lane and you happen to look over a hedge and you see a little house and whatever the hell this is meant to be. I might turn that into something yet because it doesn't look finished to me. So might be some more work there. I want it so that it looks like if we're sort of in the picture, we're standing here and looking over a hedge. But I'm also looking at these hedges really closely. Again, looking for flowers. Flowers seems to be the theme of June, and why not? It's summer in the Northern Hemisphere where I am, so, the blackberries are starting to do their thing, which is what they're doing here. Got some grasses, and I also like this slightly unfinished aspect to half of what I've done, so that as your eye travels along, it's finished. This is a bit more sort of done. And none of these things grow in a vacuum, so I like to put grasses in, and there's some green grass as well, different leaves, nondescript or non-specific, should I say. No leaf is nondescript, they're all wonderful, but non-specific leaves, they could be anything. Some of them are going to be blackberry leaves, some of them might like it could be anything at all. You never know. And all of these things you find in hedgerows and just verges as you walk along country lanes. I live in the country, so the houses don't look exactly like this. This is more of a British cottage, but I really enjoy doing those as well. So quite often my pictures will be a Franken sketch. So I might have some, this is a hedge here in Germany where I live and where I walk, but the rest of the places come from other pictures, some of them just from imagination, and that's what I love about it. You can put them all together. And the next one, no, that's that famous July rose sketch. I'm going to very much sit on that one until it is time. Where are we up to here? June, right. Yes, 2nd of June. Like I said, all over the place. Yep, that was last month. Another one. Water. I was having a real water fetish in May and April. It really was. It was an addiction as well. I get addicted to things like this, and I just paint and paint and paint to the point of exhaustion. So water, it was all about water. And of course, I still love water, but of course, flowers have taken over. So at this point, there were flowers and light coloured things in the scenery, but only as a distant object, not sort of right up close and personal. I wanted to get really up close and personal with these flowers so that I could see what they were made of. But I don't want to do botanical drawings. I want to do something a bit more accessible, a little bit quicker, and something that's easier for everybody to sort of manage. So I tend to look at the flower, get up close and personal, and then simplify it. So this was just a picture. Some of these are pictures I do for myself. It's my happy place to just go and do a landscape. Every night after dinner, I allow myself what feels like 4 minutes, but actually it's an hour and a half. Sometimes only half an hour, but whatever I can manage, of art time. When I come to my art desk and I just paint and sketch for myself. It's not really for myself at the end of the day, because during that really relaxed time where I let my own style just come out, that's when I realise, I look at something and I think, you know what, I can do this with my Patreon students. Like, for example, these tree lines, these we've done them several times with different materials, but this is one of my favourites, and these are really quite simple to do, and they fit beautifully into a landscape. They really anchor it into a place. So, and rocks, that's the other thing. We did rocks a while, I think last month, when we did a sea thrift tutorial. And then I decided, right, I need more rocks in my life. So I put more rocks in, and I've really made good on my threat to rediscover my love of watercolour, especially granulating watercolour. In February, I made a video of some of the things that I wasn't so keen on having bought and kind of regretted. But the voice of my mother came into my head and said, well, young lady, you've bought them, you can learn to like them. So I did, because I thought I can donate these. I mean, there's only one thing so far that has absolutely flummoxed me. I just can't be bothered with it. And that's my beloved Derwent. Normally can't put a foot wrong. Graphite. They're just not for me. So I did do a favourite 5, I reckon it was, back in this first book here. These are a few of those. Yeah, this one, I swatched the graphy tints that I had, compared pan and pencil, because there were a couple of minute differences. And then I did this scenery, and to me, it's just flat, same tree, but with different medium. I don't mind parts of it, but I'm not going to lie, there's other stuff in there. But of course, I'll allow that for myself because I'm a mixed media artist. So I allow myself to use some coloured pencil. But without that coloured pencil and some ink and dip pen here, this would have been as flat as flat. So I'm going to donate my graphy tints to a nursing home local here to me. And I'm hoping that the people living there love them and get some use out of them more than I do, because I don't, like I said, I've tried several times. Watercolor, it's working for me. Graphy tint, no. I know a lot of people love it. It's sometimes we've just got to know when it's not for us, don't we? And just say, look, this is okay. You've spent some money on this, and now pass it on to someone who does love it. and I thought either a school or a nursing home. I decided on a nursing home in the end because it's so nice to make people happy, and it's really quite easy to make people happy. And a lot of the older people have been artists over the course of their life, and it might work for them. Right, so then this is a tutorial on Patreon, poppies, and we've jumped to from the 2nd to the 10th. We had the 30th before. I do this in my sketchbooks because, as you saw from the pile, there are a whole lot of sketchbooks here, and I do swap from one to the other depending on the format: square, landscape, portrait, or the paper, smooth, slightly textured, or whatever I want. I'll swap around, which is why I've stopped doing sketchbook tours as such. I have got a couple of them planned because there are a couple of sketchbooks that have actually filled up. I think this is one of them, to be fair. Yes, I think it is. So I will do some tours at some point, but at the moment I'm just concentrating on the monthly roundups because otherwise it gets out of hand. As you can see, that was a month. Pan pastel for the sky and watercolour for the background, and then sort of gradually coming to darker, more solid colours. And what I liked about this, and why I wanted my patrons to know this, was watercolour is a nice, delicate medium, whereas gouache is a little bit more solid. And it suits perfectly to use all of them in a picture to give yourself depth. You have to have some light in a picture if you possibly can, because don't forget, we've only got 2 dimensions. We've got to create the illusion of a third, which is the depth. So we do that with different colours, we do that with different medium, and we do that with different techniques. So there's a bit of watercolour, very minimal interference back there, bit of coloured pencil in this bit. And then as I come forward, I add detail. And yeah, it was a lot of fun actually. And reds, getting my red pencils and paints. And so I think that, yeah, there's some gouache, there's some all sorts in here. But getting reds out, I don't use red a lot. And I realise when I use it that I don't use red a lot. Funny enough, the most fun thing, if I just lift this up to show you, the most fun thing painted here for me were the poppy seed heads. I found those the best. How strange. I thought the flowers would win, but no. I'm fascinated at the moment with birds in trees with backgrounds. Now, this here was, can I find the other one? This is this one. Oh, goodness. Let me think that it's probably in here. This is actually a tutorial that I did, and it's somewhere here on YouTube. I will try to find it and pop a card up for you so you can find it. What I was doing was I was comparing this slightly the very smooth paper with the slightly textured for what we do with mixed media. And seeing which one I preferred. And I won't spoil it for you because they're both nice. They both have their own points, but there's a clear winner for me. And it'd be interesting to know if there was a clear winner for you too, if you've indeed tried this sort of thing. So this is why these pictures are almost identical. The only thing I wanted to change about the whole procedure was the paper. So I used the same products, same materials, and the same subject, drawn as close to the same as I possibly can. The birds are slightly different because I spilt something here and there was a slight bit of water on here, so when I put the pan pastel sky down it made a mark. So the birds are different, but that's the reason for that. Everything else is the same. And then what I did was I wanted to expand the pictures to include some birds and sort of other things. So what originally started with a bit of a clifflet here on the side, I then went and expanded that over to the other page, and again I allowed myself to do different things there because it really wasn't part of the test. So again, loving up close nature. My prejudice so far for up close nature has been all about autumn. So I would focus on autumn details like mushrooms. They are a perfect example of what I mean. We'll all paint studies of mushrooms until, Christmas, basically. And then we'll start on pine cones. But I don't do that in any other season. And this year I've really tried, because there's stuff to look at up close, there's stuff to look out further away as well. But I want to be able to focus on things. So here again, just extend the cliffs, put a little house in. There's a bit of a cliff here. This is supposed to be actually really quite a big drop down there, which doesn't bother the birds at all. One bird here, two here, some sparrows by the looks of it, one hopes. And this is how I went on to finish those pictures. So yeah, right, I'll pop that one aside. I've only got a couple in that one, so we can come back to that in a second. We'll do that one next. But I really enjoyed expanding the story and bringing it across to the other page. So now instead of two identical pictures, I've got two. They're identical for reasons, and I know what those reasons are. And then we come back to this, which is nice. And painting a little bit less fussy. I don't want to create botanical drawings. I want to create accessible work that my students feel they can do as well. I don't want to be impressive or create work that's only for to be admired. You'll notice that my channel's called The Folk Art Factory, and that's because back in the day in the 90s, while I lived in Australia, I taught folk art. And the reason I chose folk art was because the word folk art, people's art. I wanted art that was simple enough for everybody to feel they could have a go at. So they weren't just, like I said, not just admiring from afar. And that taught me as a teacher to break down things into very, very simple steps. And I wrote a lot of magazine articles about it and patterns, lots of pattern packs, several books, and all sorts of things like that. So it just really allowed me to learn how to simplify. So now I'm not doing folk art as such, as in traditional decorative painting, tole painting if you're in the US, all sorts of things if you're in Europe, but I'm using the same principles that I taught folk art with to say, get a picture like this, but make it extremely easy for anyone to do it. So yeah, this was another one actually. Now this isn't a tutorial, but it's the lead into a tutorial for my Patreons. I wanted to work on creating a blurry distance and a blurry background, and you'll see the one that I actually did as a tutorial, because I try not to repeat work. I mean, my career as a forger, as I've said numerous times, worth repeating here, not going to happen because I can't copy my own work, let alone somebody else's. So I don't bother. This was something that I sat down. This was one of my evening art sessions. Really loving dandelions at the time, and some strange perspectives here. These are either massive dandelions or they're flying very low, or I might be lying in the grass just looking at them and they appear to be like that. That's what I'm going for. But the main thing was this very, very blurry background that I wanted, so that we could create the feeling of even more distance in the background, still have some details, but make it really blurry. And so that was a fun one. And again, as we come forward, changing the materials, more gouache here, more ink, lots of Caran d'Ache Neo Art, those new Neo Art 6901s that are available. Loving those, using them more and more and more. Very pleased about that, and hoping that they have some more colours. I'm praying for green ochre, which is one of my favorite pencils. Let me just grab one here. This color here, that is, in my opinion, a perfect light green, and you can see it all over most of my paintings. So I'm hoping they do that. I will be very, very pleased if that happens. But yeah, the textures you can get with them is absolutely amazing. But the main thing is, halfway through the painting, it becomes more and more in focus with more and more detail. So that was the deal here. So this feeds into one that I did for my patrons. And again, an evening art session, both of these. This one's not dated, but I know it's about the 16th. Another blackbird. That was accidental. This is a medicinal blackbird. We decided, like I said, I got so worried that people were sick and tired of blackbirds when there's a whole world of birds around. And here's me repeating blackbirds ad nauseum because I love them. But in actual fact, all my Patreons kindly, thank you for that, guys, because I know you're watching this. They all said, look, it's absolutely fine if you want to do blackbirds. So this is a medicinal blackbird, because stress at the moment, house on the market and everything happening at once, but nothing happening at the same time, if you know what I mean. So lots and lots of interminable waiting where I'm trying to second guess everything and getting most things wrong. So it's amazing how helpful painting a blackbird was. So here again, dandelions still, no flowers left anymore now because of course we're in June. Cottage, love painting a cottage, experimenting with textures. So I love the softness of pan pastels for these skies, and then going in with watercolor and gouache, bit of a resist technique here on the house with the Neo Art 6901s, and then over the top with watercolor to get these really lovely gnarly textures. It's just what I want. I love texture. Funny enough, I thought I would love watercolor paper, the cold press stuff with the really, really heavy texture. I thought that would be perfect for what I like to paint. It's not. It's dreadful because I can't get in there and get the details that I want with other things. So smooth paper for the win, I'm afraid. This again, I don't know what leaves these are. They're just leaves. And I had fun playing with a green that I don't normally use. This is my go-to green. It's a yellowy green, a warm green, actually. And forest, Derwent Light Fast Forest. I can show you a pencil, but you probably won't get much from it because it all looks very dark. But that's the colour here. And then, of course, the Caran d'Ache green ochre that I showed you before. Some really bright Neo Art in a lemon yellow there for the light on those trees, but I like these moody colors. So for this one, to use this color, and this was one of my Japanese watercolors, actually, the ones in the big pan. If I can just grab one, I've actually put them on my desk now so I can use them. Not these colors at all. I've got several of these boxes, but this is what you're looking for, and that's what these were. And then the Caran d'Ache Lush, no, not Lush Dark, not that one. We'll now sit here going through everyone. This one, because this is one of the 50th anniversary special edition kits, and this colour here, Caput Mortuum. I actually shouted out loud with joy. It's a wonder you didn't hear. You may have done. If you thought it was thunder, it wasn't, it was me. Caput Mortuum, beautiful. And I'm hoping that they do these in open stock, because as I've said in a couple of videos, I'm now getting really fretful about using them because I have a fear of running out. Lived in the country too long. You run out of something, you learn to live with it. So I've got this real problem now using my Caput Mortuum and a few other colours actually, because I'm eagerly wondering, hopefully they will do them in open stock. But this works in really well. So these dark areas here are the Caput Mortuum, and it's a surprisingly good fit with this really bright verdigris green that's just been splashed around there somehow. And it's fun. It's really, really good fun, this sort of thing. This is the tutorial that come out of this one that I did for my Patreons with the same techniques. Love overhanging branches like this and the foreground work to anchor into the scene. Then a little bit of a village halfway through that's a bit more in focus, a bit more detail. And again, a feeling that you're having a walk along one of these high peaks and you've stopped under a tree, maybe to have a drink, and you look out across the valley and that's what you see. It's a timeless picture. And these dark greens, which I mix these myself, actually this is my own mixture of green, which works very well for things like this. Love it. So this was the tutorial for Patreon. I haven't stamped this either. I've been a bit remiss, but I know these are July. I remember them. Another medicinal blackbird. Something must have happened that week. And probably some medicinal dandelions as well, because I'm just loving painting them, and I love painting them with this simple idea, like if you can scribble, you can do these. And that's exactly what I'm trying to teach, and what I'm trying to achieve in my teaching process is simple marks that people can make and it makes them feel good, because then all of a sudden they've created something that's recognizable. So when they take it home to a family member, they say, oh my goodness, I love your dandelions. Oh, thank goodness they've recognized them as dandelions. They look like camels, but they're dandelions, and someone else agrees that they're dandelions. It's a wonderful feeling. So that's the thing. So to take something that looks quite polished, but to make it simple, that's the key. So yeah, like I said, another medicinal blackbird. This time we've got a chiff-chaff, and this one also feeds into a Patreon tutorial, this time focusing on English daisies. And again, scribble. If you can scribble, you can make these, which is great. And I love the idea of having some of these up close. Like, these are tiny little daisies, like the biggest one I've ever seen. It's been something like that. They grow in lawns, they grow in grass, but you can have them quite close up here, as if you were lying on your stomach in the grass, and they're there as well. And then a bird sits in front of you on a branch, but you know, you've got this other view of, you know, there's a path in there somewhere that you can walk down to the beach, and you'll go through here, that sort of area, and onto the beach. That's the idea there. And I'm really liking that, and including more and more of these in my work. And here again, lots of the daisies, mixed media. There's caput mortuum in there, and you, even though the Neocolor 2s are the water soluble ones, you don't have to always dissolve them in water. What I've done here is I've rubbed them with my finger, and the warmth of my finger has blended them into this beautiful sort of smoky depth that you'd have to be a beetle to get in there and see the same view normally, but we can make that happen on paper, which is why art is so amazing. And you've got these flowers that are now huge, but not really. And like I said, all sorts going on there. And a chiff-chaff, just to prove I can paint more than blackbirds. This one, last page in the book, technically, although you know what, this could get something yet. Who knows? I hated it when I did it. I'm sort of better now. I do think it needs, there's still some stuff that needs doing. I haven't quite fussed enough, but it was one of these nights where, you know, you're cross with everything and can't settle, but know that if I sit down and do some art, it will make me feel better. And it kind of did. It's all over the place. There's no perspective. Not much sort of matches up architecturally. And you know what? This proves it doesn't matter, because I still produced something and I did feel better. So it's all to play for. So very much recommend, sometimes just get on with it. Just make marks on paper. And if it doesn't look any good, this is what you do. No one ever has to see it again. I don't have to look at it again. I don't have to show anybody. I mean, I've just shown the world, so you know what it's like. But the point I'm trying to make is you don't have to worry about it. It is what it is. Just make marks, shut the book, move on. And sometimes in those sorts of settings, we can see where, when you look back with the memories that are in the book, you think, you know what, that things were going well, things weren't going well. This one's not finished, I realised when I looked at it. Now, this one's on the watercolour paper. I'm not sure if you can see the two textures there. This one here is quite coarse. This one's a bit finer, but this one's the watercolour book that Hannah Müller put out. I started out just on this side, and my trees felt really tight and nasty and controlled, which when I look back, again, like I said, House on the Market, oh gosh, nearly spilt the whole lot of those by flicking them by accident with my hands. I'll sit on my hands. Everything in the world at the moment feels very out of control. So when I paint, I can see that I'm really, really trying hard to control a world, if not my own, the real one, a world that I can create. A little bit like I think kids who game, they're often trying to build a world and that they can control. We as artists will do the same thing, which is why it's quite often quite useful. Art therapy is very useful. And a couple of days later, this particular stress had lifted, probably to be replaced by another one. But I came back and I just did some really sort of looser mark making, intending to come back to it, but I haven't. And I've got this feeling that I'm not going to. I'm going to leave this here to prove a point to myself so that I can say this tight controlled area here replaced by more loose here. I can see healing here that wasn't here. And like I said, it's just, yeah, that it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, I suppose, but it just feels very tight and those trees, nasty is the way I would refer to them. They look very nasty and all together and not loose and beautiful and tree-like, but just really stiff, actually. Whereas there's more happening here. And of course we're back to this one, which we've seen already. Right, next one. What have we got? Where are we up to here? That's the 1st of July. That's another one. Where are we up to? This is the tutorial that came off the back of the other one with the English daisies with the little chiff-chaff that I painted to prove that I can do more than blackbirds. This is the tutorial that my Patreons saw and are using and learning to paint the same thing. And I've used a bit more perspective this time because we're heading, let me see if I can find the other one even. Probably can't. Oh, got it first. With this one, I wanted to be up close to them and stay up close. With this one, I wanted a perspective where it was heading down the hill. Again, same sort of little right of way there, little valley to the beach. This time a cottage instead of the bird. We'll do birds soon, actually, because we need more birds in our lives. So lots and lots of just textural marks here and a little bit of my beloved Caput Mortuum, but then the little daisies that get smaller and smaller and smaller. Gosh, my Cocker Spaniel's name is Daisy, and every time I talk about them, I'm trying to use any word other than Daisy because she keeps popping up and looking at me, it feels cruel because I can't pay attention to her. So here I've tried to make these little flowers get smaller and smaller, but they're still there as you go away down the hill. So slightly different perspective, but either one is valid. So you can either go up close or a little bit further down. So that's the tutorial that's on my Patreon. And yeah, it works well, actually. And they're such fun to make. And you feel like such a boss for, you know, having a bit of a scribble and you come out with a daisy. You think, oh gosh, yeah, did it again. I then wanted to see, this was one of my evening sessions and it's over 2 nights. I have oh gosh, that's what was going on. I wondered, it's a new sketchbook, you see, and I was wondering why it wasn't matching up. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't think the art police will come because of that. I'll let you know if I miss a tutorial or miss a video, you'll know they came. I wanted to do the same sort of up close and personal with a different flower. And although I'm trying to put grasses in and everything like that, and I could also mix the flowers up because, of course, that happens a lot. But I want to concentrate on constructing a flower at a time. And whereas the others were scribbles, these are splodges. So that's how I painted red clover. And a bit of grass there, a little bit of down onto the beach, into the water. I live miles away from the sea, you can probably tell, because at the moment, well, yesterday we had 40 degrees here in Germany in places. Thankfully, we only got to 38. Only, I say. I did grow up in Australia, so 40 degrees is kind of, it's not that big of a deal. However, yesterday taught me that if I moved back to Australia, I would probably not be able to cope with the summer anymore. And we were in the south. So, you know, it was hot. So painting water helps. Again, I've thrown all sorts at this. The sky is different this time. It's actually a large acrylic marker, one of these big edding ones, which I like using from time to time. It stops me from being precious. I do prefer the pan pastel skies, but I thought, haven't used that for a while, get it out and use it now. Then there's lots of watercolour, there's a little bit of gouache, there's a lot of neo art, coloured pencil in almost always, and I've got some Caput Mortuum. I buy this colour in everything. Honestly, Caput Mortuum and Mars Black are my 2 goal colours. Everything, if you want to get rich, just make anything you like in those 2 colours and tell me where to buy them. This one is a Raw and Klingner antique ink, German made but caput mortuum. Perfect use with the dip pen for details. And I do love my dip pens with these inks because I can control what color I'm using, whereas I've got a lovely lot of fine liners. This is just a grab sample of them, but these come in the colours that the manufacturer wants to give you. They're much easier to use, much more convenient. And I mean, you're not going to spill ink or get it all over your fingers or blot it or anything like that. Much, much more convenient. But the payoff is you get the colours they want you to have. And that's not necessarily what I want to use. So, you know, blacks and greys and browns, they're great. Fabulous for tree colours, and I am very aware they come in other colours, but sometimes the colour they come in, like for example, there are some colours, not sure if I can just grab some, usually not, no, never. Sometimes the time to clean up. I have got some that are very close to this colour, but they're not perfect. They're too pink or they're too light, whereas if I can reach for a dip pen and an ink, I can mix the ink if I need to, but the point is I can do all sorts with it. And I am aware that the clover leaf is actually the other way around. It's usually got a white or light scribble with a darker leaf, but I wanted depth underneath and the leaves to stand out, so this was the choice, the design choice I made. I've reinvented red clover leaves. I hope nobody minds. Right, where are we going on? Sorry, another medicinal blackbird. I wonder if I could trace, I haven't dated this one, but I do know it's June. I wonder if I could trace every single blackbird I've painted back to a day of stress where people have looked at the house and said, oh, you know, we love it, can't wait to live here, but no, we don't want to pay. And right, I'll give you my house for free, shall I? You know what it can be like when you've got your house on the market. There's lots of ups and downs. Moving swiftly on. This is another blackbird, as you can see. We had a summer storm, and this picture, as you see it here, I believe, maybe, I can't remember actually. This is a version of this, if not this one. Maybe it's in here. I think it is, because I wanted to further make it. Yeah, there's another one in here. I did want to make it a little bit simpler for the first go. Quite often what I'll do with my patrons is I will do something in my evening art practice, which is what happened here. This was on the night of the actual storm. And here in tropical Germany, and it really is, it's weird. It can be as hot, and then all of a sudden a massive thunderstorm and a downpour. So I was painting this during one of those evenings. But what I will do when I'm doing it for my Patreons is to make it slightly smaller sometimes, so one page, and take some details out and paint the picture and do that tutorial. And when we've got that, then revisit it a little while later when everybody's got a little bit more confidence and say, right, now we'll do this. So that's actually what I'm planning with this at the moment. I've got one of them, which you'll see in a second, up on my Patreon as a tutorial, but this was my evening work that I took the tutorial from. And I love the way I can play with these bright greens, which I normally wouldn't consider, and then the dark moody area, which is totally me. I love the tangle of the bramble. Of course, I love this little guy sitting in there. I love the fact that you can make some of the leaves completely unfinished. I could have probably put some flowers in there unfinished as well. And I've put some other bits and pieces there too, which is quite interesting. It's a hedge, it's a tangle, and creating the tangle, again, I dare say a halfway decent first year psychiatry student could interpret everything I've done this month and look at everything else that's happened and come up with an opinion. So this one birthed a tutorial, and the tutorial is simpler for now, and then we'll move on and do something else with it later on. Again, 2 more thrush this time, and playing with different colours, not going to automatically green. So pan pastel for the sky, and then a bit of a glimpse of sea, not the main event this time. And they're sitting in, it's a summer landscape, clear blue sky, nice calm sea, but lots and lots of quite dried off hills with nothing but texture to define them, and there's a whole heap of different layers here too. So we've got some watercolor first, we've got some gouache, and then there are all sorts of other textures and things like that, made from neo art, neo color, same deals, and excuse me, then just random marks that don't mean anything and they don't lead anywhere. But if you look at it as a whole, like if you home in on this, you think, right, okay, so your 3-year-old did that, and I think probably maybe the rest of the kids got the rest done. Probably. But if you come back from it and have a look at it, it is a couple of birds sitting on a deadish branch with quite an arid looking landscape, and all of these marks make the background, and they all come together, and your brain will make them make sense. Pareidolia is the name for this, where it's why when we're children we lay on the grass and we see dragons where there are clouds, and there's a castle, it's another cloud, but you know what I mean. We make patterns out of things that we look at, and that's what happens a lot with art. So knowing where to put all these marks is important, because then your brain will actually do the rest and it will knit that together for you. So you don't have to put a lot of effort into that bit, you just have to be able to make marks that are appropriate. And I didn't want any more of, there's a little bit of green up here because I never or rarely use a colour just once, unless I want to make a point. Obviously, there's nowhere here apart from the sky and the sea where I can use blues properly. I could have put blue down here. I could certainly have made the shadows blue, but I didn't. But so I've got some green here, and I've used the same green just in touches elsewhere. But by using green as a background for the birds instead of more of the apricots and tans and neutrals, what that's done is made the birds stand out a little bit more. So if I wanted them to blend into the landscape, we could have left it with all brown. I don't often paint a picture that doesn't have green in it, actually. Green is one of my favourite colours generally, and I tend to include it in everything I do. What I'm trying to experiment at the moment with is these bright greens, because Caran d'Ache has chosen some truly bright greens for their neo arts. Let me just grab my box of them here. This is actually lemon yellow. I'm using that an awful lot for highlights. This one here is spring green, and again, not greens that I would traditionally go for. Like, to me, that is a go-to green. And this is another one that's surprising me, that one that goes with my Japanese watercolors. There are a couple in here like this, which obviously I can't find right now, and there it is. These are the ones I would normally go for. These are the ones that I'm actually forcing myself to use. They're a bit brighter. There are a couple in here like these two. It's only because I've got full set syndrome that I've bought the lot. These two are going to take a bit more love. I just don't like them. They're not my kind of green, but I'll work with them if I can, because I bought them now. So, like my mother says, learn to like them. Right, birds. More birds. Another one. I don't even know what sort of bird that is. But again, just playing with the same concept. I think played with some preparation on this particular page, just some background colour, and then straight in with all the usual mixed media things. And the leaves are done with a negative painting here, as in prepare the page with all sorts. I believe there's a bit of watercolour in there, and there is quite a bit of water used to get it to move around, and then come back and paint the spaces around everything and put these leaves in. Again, I don't know what species they are. I noticed some of them haven't got all their veins either. That doesn't seem to matter either. So some sort of a finch looking at the beak, and a little settlement of houses in the valley. It's the same valley that you can walk through down to the beach, so that's obviously a thing. This one is something that I'm about to do with my students. Going into autumn, I want to do a lot more with foxes and a lot more with squirrels. And this is something I did last year. It was a bit of a theme where I'll paint a picture with a fox in it, looking at something, not necessarily looking towards us, but looking at something. And we never get to find out what it is that he spotted. I don't even know. he's looking at something that he's seen. I don't know if this is a shape or that's just pareidolia, because I've decided to look there. It looks like a little sheep or something. Let's hope not, because he's spotted it. But the point is, I don't know what he's looking at. Nobody does. And I just let myself have some mystery. Normally I like to solve everything. In this case, I'm not allowing myself to. In this case, I've got to just let it go. He can see it. I can't live with it. So my foxes, bit of a stream going through the forest. This is definitely going to be a tutorial. I'm actually working on this at the moment. Bit of big marker action there. Lots of just background stuff. The same sort of texture and same technique, but used slightly differently for a different outcome. If you saw the original of this, oh my goodness, it's yeah, it's just marks, and then you've got to find everything, but that's fun. That's the good bit, and I show you how. So, and again, more rocks with lots of texture, loving those. And moving on, this one, this was another one of these cross nights where things are not working well. I've even put some collage onto here. Some of these are collaged as well, some of the leaves and some of the raspberries and some of the rocks here. We have a squirrel in our backyard called Beryl the Peril, and she's quite tame now actually, and we feed her and she talks to us, tells us off really. She told me off properly the other day because I went out into my own garden and did some work, and she was sitting in the oak tree chattering at me, which I loved. I don't think she wasn't very happy with the fact that I wasn't appropriately terrified, and was actually sort of joining in the conversation. That apparently wasn't the right thing to do. This is just one of those paintings where I probably should have stopped ages ago, and then I redid the background because the background was all green, and I prefer it now. It's a little bit looser, but in the end I gave up on it and said, you know what, just leave it. It is what it is. It's one of those things. It's in a sketchbook. Learn to live with it and move on. And yeah, this was it's sort of the same vibe, but again, the fox has spotted something. The deer has spotted something. It can't be important because this deer doesn't care. Either that or this deer is a bit stupid. I like the fact that fox is not interested in the deer. They're probably a bit big for him anyway, but this is my sort of narrative, and the fox has been distracted by something that's off in the distance, which is quite nice. Again, a nice stream through the forest, lots and lots of texture, lots of just blobs of stuff that turn out to be something. And the main thing are the trees. You know, when you start out, it's just marks and it's all over the place, and you look at it and you think there's no way anyone can do anything with this, except you can, because it's not finished until it's finished. And again, watercolor, there are inks in here, neo arts, colored pencil. I mean, even though I say I'm a mixed media artist and I throw every single thing I've got at the page, I don't throw every single thing at each page. I throw it in combinations. So sometimes there'll be a bit of pastel. There's no pastel in this one. Actually, yeah, there's a bit of pan pastel up here. Sometimes there's more pastel than others. Sometimes the pastel would either be pan pastel, soft pastel, the wax and oil neo arts, or neo colors. It might be oil pastel. It might be anything or nothing. Colored pencil happens a lot. Sometimes I put acrylic gouache in, sometimes not. There's going to be, the one thing I do is I work in layers, and we looked at this last time. I think I popped that video up because it is here also on YouTube. The layers are important, and people who say they're painting without a plan aren't telling you the exact truth, I'm afraid, because even they might not realize they've got a plan, but you sort of have to have a plan, because like I said in the beginning of this video, we're using these products in a way that often isn't actually intended by the manufacturer. There's about 12 to 20 products in some of these pictures, and nobody intended all of those to be used together in this particular way. So, you know, you're going to make sure they work. So there's a plan. But yeah, this was a simple one. Now we're into July, and that is my Patreon video, which you'll see next month. Where are we here? Oh, here we are. On the 1st of July, we finally arrived. This was a weird one. I painted this, and I didn't have anything in the background at all. I just had a wren on a rock with a tiny bit of watercolor wash because I was trying to be all grown up, and it was dreadful. It just didn't work for me. It looked okay. It was fine. I haven't changed the wren, but what I have done is put some strange flower. I don't know what sort of flowers these are. I think they are something. Campion, I think, springs to mind. I don't know. But I found an old watercolor book with wildflowers in it, and I looked at those. I thought they will do. All sorts of different things, darkened up the background, did some other things, didn't touch the wren, didn't touch the rock. Love these granulating watercolours for things like rocks. We don't have to do anything else. You just put them on and let them do their thing. Ditto with birds. You don't have to fuss because the watercolour will granulate and give you textures, and you just have to do a few minimal tweaks and you've got yourself a bird. Very nice and very easy. So I like this now. I have got a picture of it before and after on my Instagram. Actually, again, links in the description box. Don't need that. This was another comparative study that I did, and the video is on here. This was gouache versus watercolor as a base. And as you can see, it gives two slightly different views. And yeah, I like one better than the other, but in case you would like to watch that, I won't give that away. Dandelions, they were requested a few times actually by people, and I thought, look, I have painted them a few times, but I've not actually gotten far enough towards showing what I wanted to do. So this is what I came up with. So what I've done now with my Patreon videos is sometimes I'll paint a flower. Here's another one very similar to this one here. As you can see, the process is ongoing. I painted the flower, and on my Patreon I have a Wednesday slot where my patrons see these YouTube videos before they go out to the general public. Then Thursday is what I call niche day, because I put up videos that not everybody likes. For example, my jelly prints, they go up on a Thursday because not everybody's into them. Collage, not everybody's into them, but quite a lot of people are. So this way I'm hoping to please everybody most of the time. So we have those on a Wednesday and a Thursday, and then Friday is the landscape day because I'm a landscape artist. That's what quite a lot of people want. And what I'm doing now is painting these flower studies. These go on to Thursday because these are the study and actually looking at the flower. And then what I do is I'm doing a sketch tutorial on the Friday using the flower, because painting it in isolation like this and using it in a drawing, as like some of the ones that you've seen, are two extremely different things, and it's important to underline and show those differences so that you don't just get a whole heap of flowers in isolation that you can't use. It's really important to say, right, I know how to put this into a picture, not just a clump like this. What happens to the rest of the picture? What do we put behind it? Do the lights and shadows change? I can tell you they absolutely do. Do the leaf colours change? Sometimes. Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? It depends. And that's the point of learning how to put them into a picture. It's super important. So here again, same thing, and worked out a formula. This is how I work out what I'm going to do with my patrons. I sit down and I do it exhaustively until I'm ironing out nearly all of the problems that are going to occur. I bought, this is when I had the new set, another medicinal blackbird. Actually, I think things were a bit better at that point. This is on the 10th of June. I had just, we'd moved past the flower stage. I wanted the flowers for the dandelion, but we'd moved past that to the sort of puffball stage. So I wanted that as well. So it's a different thing. Lots and lots and lots of collage on here. But the background was all made with, let's see if I get the right one. Yes, this was the dark set, the Caran d'Ache dark set that I bought first. These are the two pictures that I painted with these, and they're absolutely beautiful. Some of this I've dissolved out. Some of it I've just rubbed with my finger to smudge it. Love the zinc ochre as well, and use that extensively. Whoever put these together was really thinking, because they go beautifully. And this is where I got this thought about putting birds in trees and on bushes with whatever sort of leaves these are at the end of the day. Little background vignettes as well, so that they're looking at something, because there's a whole world and we can paint the whole thing. But I love the idea of looking into the intimate world of the bird, underneath hedgerows and things where the dandelions and blackbirds are, and into bushes where you can hear something singing but you don't know what it is. Oh, here we go, this is what it is. Another one by the beach, looks a bit more tropical actually. It is in fact Cornwall, and another blackbird. You can see why I got embarrassed about, I thought, oh my god, people are going to just, they're going to run away because there are too many blackbirds. But I think I'm not the only one who loves blackbirds. Same thing, little vignette, all sorts of different bits and bobs, different sort of seaside growth of bushes and things. We've got pigeons in our backyard, so I decided to experiment with some watercolor, and when that worked I put a background in as well. Again, this was one of my evening things. And the caput mortuum here on the breast from the Caran d'Ache Neo color. Little bits and pieces, some of them finished, some of them not, some of them just indicated. And then pebbles that are just outlines. It all works and it's easy to do. Beryl the Peril. I don't know what was going on in here. I'm not even sure if I'm finished it yet. I painted apple trees and then painted over them. But because I put the apples on in Neo Colour 1, which are they look almost identical, but these are the non-water soluble ones. What I've done is actually it's come through when I've scribbled the leaves over the top. So it works. It started out with just a strip with beryl on a rock and then some dandelions. And then I did the background, and I think I would have just been happier just leaving beryl on her rock, because this is the bit that works for me. This is just no. This is the tutorial that I put onto Patreon. Like I said, I have simplified it, but we're going to come in for another serve and do things slightly differently. There's a different sort of tree in this as well. I paint trees in all sorts of different ways, as you've seen. This is another way. The idea, my job as a teacher, is to show all the different ways, and then my patrons can say, no, I like this way, no, I prefer that way. But they've seen all of them that, you know, that I can sort of produce. So this was another one for that. And we'll do this again with a bird in it, I think, because it's worth it. It's fun. Oh, God. That one I'm going to leave for the time being, because that's coming up later on. I wanted to showcase one of the Caran d'Ache sets, so probably in August. So I'm not going to show you that now. There was a little glimpse, but we'll leave it at that. Another fox, blurry background, cottage, daisies by the look of them, maybe teasels, God knows, but fox was what I was interested in. Sniffing the air. His time is coming, because for me foxes are all about autumn. So yeah, just another evening art practice. And this, of course, was all the different sort of roses, leaves, bits and pieces, how I could make them easier and still keep their integrity. I finally hit on the formula that I wanted to use here for the actual roses themselves. And yeah, and enjoyed doing some leaves, so I kept doing them. And that there is the tutorial that I ended up on for my Thursday niche. And then there's another tutorial in the other book, which I won't show you, which is how, actually I will, because these will all be gone up by the time I put this out, so do pardon me for that. Let me see if I can find it. No, it's not in that one. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I find the bloody thing. Here it is. Right, this one here has gone up the week this video comes out. So this is where it's going. So this is the Thursday video of the flower up close and personal, to show what I've done with it and, you know, how I construct the flower itself. And this is where I put it into practice. And yeah, this is what I decided on in the end. And it's just, it was really lovely. A nice tutorial too. So this is what I'm doing, is Thursday and Friday, so that people can see what you do with these things, because not everybody likes to just do flower studies. They want to know what to do with them. Where do we take this? How does this look in practice? So this is where I've gone with it. So these are the two tutorials that are there now. Right, getting down here, what are we doing in this one? oh, this is another one actually. This was I hadn't got the jelly plate out for absolutely ages, so this was a Thursday tutorial with some collage rocks. And I do a different sort of jelly technique, as many of you may know. I paint directly onto the jelly plate. I don't use any transfer method. This is a lot of pan pastel and acrylic gouache, and I paint that directly onto the jelly plate, and then I print, and then I dry that and work back into it with my mixed media materials. And on this occasion, I decided to come outside the frame a little bit with some collage rocks. So this made a tutorial on a Thursday, which is up on my Patreon. And because not everybody likes collage, as I said, I showed them very quickly how to make a passable rock with acrylic gouache and coloured pencil. Actually, there's a little bit of neo art on there as well. So yeah, just giving people options is the idea, because art is not meant to be a learn to paint like me. It's meant to be a here are some techniques that you can run with, and you can do things with them. So by showing everything here, and there's a special reason for making collage rocks with watercolor paints on larger pieces of paper. So by showing these things, people can take it and say, right, this is for me, that's not, or actually, no, sorry, I prefer that, not doing this, or I might do this, but I'll stay within the boundaries of the actual frame instead. So that we've got this 3D effect that looks like if you might have to climb over something to get to the beach, that sort of thing. So yeah, this was a another tutorial. And last but definitely not least are these. Now these are interesting. Just let me get the right one first off. My God, I can't even remember which one was the tutorial. My goodness, my memory is just terrible. I don't think it was this one, although it might have been. What I was doing was, again, at the beach, very, very simple drawings on prepared paper. And I wanted to show for my Thursday tutorial, and one of these is a tutorial. I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to be disingenuous here. I can't remember which one's the tutorial one, but one of them is. And in my tutorial, I showed my people how to make the accordion book, how to make a cover, how to make the actual accordion sketchbook as well. So all of this, and how to put it into a nice cover, and of course how to fill it. And we filled it all in one session. So let me just show you. So nice solid cover, interesting paper on it. And what I did was these prepared pages. Gosh, I must do some more of this. When I look at these, I think, oh God, I've got to do more of that. But I move on to the next thing and forget. So what we were doing was, like I think this is the tutorial one actually, all this really quite nice, quite simple seaside imagery, leaving some white space. Some skies are a bit dramatic. And let me see, I'm never going to get it all on screen, but I can show you in sequence like this. And a bit of a stately home there. Probably not a stately home, but just a little bit more stately home than the cottages. Love putting washing on lines. I don't tend to put people into pictures quite a lot. I tend to put where they've been. And washing is my favourite thing, because that shows that there's evidence of people having been there. The fact that there's a cottage there, that's a man-made structure. That shows evidence of people having been there. So that's how I introduce people into my work. But it's just such fun. And the main thing is I did go a little bit off piste here because I filled the whole page. Whereas the idea, as you will see in the others, is to leave white space, leave it unfinished, or just leave it with the prepped undercover there in full view. So the stone wall, you don't have to colour them all in. Some of it is from the prepped page, which spills over onto the cottage, which is also in the sky, and it draws it all together. See, the same prepped colour here pulls this together as well. So we start out with big piece of paper, which is about an A3, I think, and then I show how to cut and fold and prep the page. First we prep the page, then we cut and fold, and then we make it into an accordion book. So I'm pretty sure this is the tutorial one, and these are some others that I did just to see how I wanted to approach the subject. My goodness, I can see I cut that with scissors. It's as crooked as a dog's hind leg. Anyway, it still works. Again, prep pages, draw things in with coloured pencil, then fill in here and there, but leave plenty of white. So this is another one in the same sort of thing. I got so into them, I did 3 straight away and really, really enjoyed them. Somewhere as well, I believe I've missed something out of this out of this video, because I can remember doing some of these in a book somewhere. On earth have they gone? Before we look at the last one, yes, here it is. I knew there was more. I would have been cross actually, because I would have showed you next month. I started out here in this is another Clairefontaine book, just making marks with page prepping and then trying to keep it simple, because a lot of this is Venice, one hopes. It's terrifying, especially when you're starting out. So to be able to see how another artist simplifies an image, and this one here too, this was the first one, seeing how an artist simplifies an image is really quite important. This here gave me so much trouble. It was unbelievable. And I ended up, I don't know if you can see that, but I collaged over the top of it. I cut out another cliff and some more rocks here and put them in as a collage. And then I was happy with it because it was just an absolute pain. Here again, just a nice little chapel. I love doing the gravestones, and I do those completely without any detail on them. You've got some of the prep page underneath, that is absolutely fine, and allowing some areas to stay white with just maybe a little bit of color from underneath. This one, it's such fun, and I was able to experiment with some bright colors, all ink. I've used inks, either drawing ink or acrylic ink, to prep the pages because I don't have to worry about disturbing it. And then over the top with colored pencil, basically my Mars black pencil to create the sketch, and then coming back in with other things. In this case, there's a little bit of neo art as well. And oh, this one in Greece, again with washing. I didn't have very much time with this one, but as luck would have it, you can see some, don't know what's going on there, you can still see some of my prep pages. So I am going to do more of these. But to finish up, now that we found that, I'm so pleased. This is the other one that I did, and I think this was one of the first ones. I used some of my scrapbooking paper, and I found these little corners which help to protect the grey board. Another piece inside. Actually, I think this is one of the first ones that I did coming out of my sketchbook there, because this sky here with just a great big Liquitex marker in Prussian blue, it's the really big one, means that you get your picture in seconds. So nice. On the prep page again, leaving some, putting some flowers in, cliffs, and all sorts of detail. You know, it's detail but not, and it's something I want to do again. Churchyard. I wanted to put a churchyard in each one because I really enjoyed painting the gravestones, which is something that we might revisit for Halloween. And something else I enjoyed was where there were colours just coming along with an unbroken, very, very fractal line to create the indication of some more foliage that continues off the page in all these directions, but not colouring it, because that stark silhouette against the busyness of some of the other things and just a touch of colour on the sea, you get the idea. You don't need more than that. Your brain will fill in the rest, which makes it really nice, and it's a holiday for the senses. So yeah, fun one actually. And yeah, it was a lot of fun actually to present to my students. Right, that's it. Thank you so much. This has been a bit of a long one. I knew it would be. I looked at this pile and I thought there's no way I can get through this in one whole video, but I think I probably have. And it's going to be a nice long one, so hopefully it's not too hot or cold depending on where you are, and you can sit down with an appropriate temperature of drink for your surroundings and have a watch. Like I said, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and if you like what you've seen, especially the tutorials that I've pointed out, please do consider my Patreon. You are helping support me and my family, and that's what brings these tutorials to YouTube as well, is the support that I get. So I would love to have your company, and it's pretty good value actually for about €10, $10, £10 there, give or take, per month. You get about 12 videos for that. So yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, take care and get some painting time in, and enjoy your art materials. Talk soon. Bye for now. Bye.